Welcome to Live Well Long, where we deliver life-enhancing, empowering messages for body, mind, and spirit to those seeking to get the most out of life, who have a zest for learning and know that learning must be an ongoing activity to achieve a vibrant, thriving life. This is your host, Alexandra Van Horn. Stay tuned for another episode of Live Well Long. Hey everyone, this is Alexandra from Live Well Long, and where we discuss all things that can help people, give people ideas for living well long, whether it reduces stress or just inspires you to do things that maybe you thought you weren't up for it, because all kinds of things we can do when we are choosing to live well long. So today's guest is Lisa Wilber. She's been selling and team building with Avon since 1981. After getting downsized from a secretary job in 1987, she turned her part-time hobby into a full-time income and then some. She's currently the number 5 money earner in Avon U.S. with over 5,000, hear that, 5,000 team members in 10 generations. And that generations is a network marketing term. That doesn't mean she's got 10 generations of grandkids that cover every state in the country. She's been in the top 10 in the U.S. for more than 2 decades. She's an author and a speaker, and her current book, entitled Said the Lady with the Blue Hair, co-authored with Jeff West, talks about the 7 rules for success that she's been teaching her team for years. So let's welcome Lisa Wilber.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And for those of you that are listening and aren't watching the video, Lisa has a beautiful color of blue hair. And I would say it's like teal blue. Do you have a color name for it?
Well, no, but somebody told me when I was in New York for a meeting that God decides every morning which shade of blue I have, because it changes every single day.
Oh, interesting. Well, that's cool. That means every time you wake up, you're a new person.
Yeah. This is actually not as bright as it usually is. I am having it done tomorrow.
Okay.
So it's usually bright blue.
Oh, I love it. So how did you come up with the title for your latest book? Would you share that with our folks?
Well, I'll tell you, it's a funny thing. I had no book on my radar or anything like that. I had joined Bob Burg's Go-Giver Success Alliance, which is based on his book, The Go-Giver. And have you read that book?
I have not, but I did hear you speak at a network event.
It's awesome. It's definitely something that you want to grab, because it's changed my life, and all these people that are in this group have that same feeling about it. And we get to meet with Bob Burg every Wednesday and brainstorm ideas and stuff. So anyway, one of the first calls I was on, I happened to have blue hair, and the reason my kid keeps saying it's a midlife crisis, but you know.
But right, did it for fun, kind of, at first.
Well, he's had every color and cut known to man, in mohawk, inverted mohawk, red, green, blue, orange. And I just thought all these years, because my kid's 17, I thought all these years, I just want to do that once, I just want, and my favorite color is blue. So it was 2 years ago, I just went blue, and I actually only kept it for about 5 weeks. But during that 5 weeks was the first Go-Giver Success Alliance call that I went on. And I joined that specifically to meet people that were doing way better than me, because when I want my business to take off, I need to be around new people. And when I want to better, be a better person, the only way to really do that is to be around people that are doing better and have bigger goals and stuff like that. So I thought this would be a perfect.
In the room, you need to find another room.
Right. Well, and this was my other room. But I'll tell you, that first meeting, I was intimidated, because there's lawyers and doctors and architects and stuff. And I'm sitting there, the Avon lady, and even though I do good in my sector, you don't have many lawyers and doctors thinking it's a big deal. So, so I'm thinking, not only is that a problem in my mind, but then I'm sitting there with blue hair. So I'm thinking, well, you know what? I'm just going to say a joke about the blue hair. So I raised my hand on the Zoom when we were going around, and I said, if you want to have less judgment in your life, go ahead and dye your hair blue because this is working for me. I go down to the grocery store and I see some lady in a tight skirt and I'm thinking, man, that lady's got a tight skirt, said the lady with the blue hair. And that's just the way I said it. And what happened was in the comment section, I saw Jeff West, who I didn't know yet. I saw him write, that would make a great title for a book.
Right.
And actually, it wasn't till a year later that we actually did it. We kidded around about it, and I got to know him over that time. I have a podcast too. He was on it. And as the time went by and we knew each other better, he came to me and he had changed his business model where he was looking for people to write with, and he wanted to do business parables, which is a story with a business point.
Right.
Not like my other books were all like instructional guides, and his is a story where he works in the lessons. So you feel like you're reading a story, but you're also learning something. And he came to me and he says, we've been kidding about that all this time. And I didn't have blue hair by then. Of course, I only had it for 5 weeks. He said, but I really think we should just make that book happen. And it kind of caught me a little off guard. I'm thinking, how much do I want to have my hair blue? Because I know me, when I get into something, I'm all in. So I knew I was going to have to go back blue. And now it's funny. I was just talking to him before I got on here. I think, and he laughs at me because I say this, but to do the book, I spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours talking with him, sharing my stories and stuff. And he knows me better than any person on the planet at this point. It's really kind of funny. But from my angle, what's hard, I think, is that he wrote a book that's so personal to me because my stories are in it. You know what I mean? It's not about me, and the story is about Belle and Kai. It's not Lisa. But when people read it that know me, they can pick out my little, idiosyncrasies all in the book. And so it's such I don't know, a gift that I can't repay. But it's so neat. And what he did was he asked me what I teach my team, and we narrowed it down to the 7 most important lessons, and then he wove those into the story, as well as things that he taught, because he ran Aflac for the state of Texas for 2 decades.
Nice.
So he's a very, matter of fact, out of the 2 of us, he's much more accomplished than I am. And it just has been a great partnership. The book, I think, is really valuable. And I love the story itself. So it's just funny that a comment on a Zoom call, when I happen to have something, happened to say a joke about it, he happened to comment, that turned into this. Right. So and we both were taking a chance on each other because I didn't know him, he didn't know me. So it just has, I'm glad I said yes. I'm glad he thought to ask me. I'm just glad this has worked out the way it has. But take a chance, people. Take a chance.
Take a chance. That's right. Never too late. Don't take yourself too seriously, right? That's where all the fun is, right? Wow.
Well, and I was thinking, I was telling you this in the pre-show meeting, but I'm going to turn 60 in just a few days here on Saturday. I actually had gotten in my head for a while there that maybe I'd done the biggest stuff I was going to do. And I actually had a book set that was my signature project. It was called A View from the Top. And it was Avon representatives, 63 of us, that all wrote chapters over 3 books. And I'm the one that thought the project up and spearheaded it and did it. So I was known for that for a decade within Avon. And I thought that's probably going to be my big thing that I'll always be known for. And this has already eclipsed it. So I guess you just don't know what your big thing. You just got to keep having big things.
Right. Just take the next step and
go just slow. And keep saying yes when something exciting comes up like that.
Yeah.
That was the dog.
Oh, I didn't even hear it.
Good.
Zoom is pretty good at blocking out sounds because I've noticed that in previous things. Yeah. Wow. So you live in rural New Hampshire, right?
Yeah.
So, so back in the day when I was growing up, I remember my mother would get a visit from the Avon lady, and I used to get these little. I used to love because she'd get these little lipstick samples that I could play with, which I loved. But that was when people knocked on doors. How did you manage to build an Avon business in rural New Hampshire when you can't really go knocking on doors?
Well, what's funny is not only can I not knock doors here, it's there's dogs and guns,
Yeah, I was gonna say nowadays it's pretty
it's frowned
dangerous.
upon, right? Right. But I actually signed up to sell Avon on Guam, and I happen to be an introvert. I know people that know me that for work don't think that just because I can do my job like speaking and meet and greets, and I can do all that stuff. That's fine. To me, introvert means I recharge by being alone. That's all it means. But that means when I'm out doing stuff like door knocking, it takes so much energy that to me, it's not worthwhile to do that. So from the beginning, I tried to find ways to get customers without doing that. And luckily that served me when I moved to New Hampshire, because going door to door was what they all talked about, but wasn't something that I wanted to continue experiencing. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Especially now,
Yeah.
when somebody knocks at the
Well,
door.
now it's even more. Right. So what I decided was I looked around at what other businesses were doing and why this can help anybody, because these things that I talk about can help you put on a play. They can help you sell Girl Scout cookies. You don't necessarily have to be a business owner for this to be something you could use. But I decided that I wanted to make sure everybody within a 10-mile radius knew what I did. So it's actually one of the rules in the book. You can be successful at anything if enough people know what you do. That's rule number 2. You can be successful at anything if enough people know what you do. So I decided I was going to make sure that if you came to my town and walked up to anybody within 10 miles of me and you said, who sells Avon around here? They better tell you me, or I'm not doing my job right. So that's what I decided. And then once I got a taste of the recognition and stuff at Avon, I wanted to get to the top. And I knew that wasn't going to happen within 10 miles of Ware, New Hampshire. So I just kept expanding my radius. So then I tried to get known statewide and New England wide and countrywide. And then they had me going around speaking. I got to go to England and Ireland and Canada. So at one point they introduced me as their best known Avon representative. And that's worked well for me. I'm not the biggest seller. I'm not the biggest team builder, but I'm their best known representative. And that's been enough to get me a lot of business and a lot of opportunities, speaking, writing, stuff like that. So I totally believe in that role.
Right. Now, when you expanded beyond, I think you said the 10-mile radius, how did you do that? How did you went public speaking and like any event you could find?
Actually, a lot of stuff like that. And then like I looked up all the industry magazines they have for almost any industry that you might be in and wrote columns for them. And, at first, I bet a lot of people think this too. At first, I thought if I do well, the company will notice me out here in New Hampshire and they'll highlight me and I'll be able to use that. Well, that doesn't happen that way. You have to raise your little hand and say, hey, you know what? I got a good story out here. I'm doing well and I've got a good story. I bet you'd like to hear it. And I did that enough that I was featured in there. This is funny. This was early on, probably 2000. So it's 23 years ago. They had a DVD that they put in their sign-up kits, and it was called The Rich and Famous of Avon.
Oh, I love it.
And I was featured. And once I got in one thing, I would buy thousands of them and put them out myself. And then I got in their magazine called Avon Dreams. They did a big spread. And once I got in that, I bought thousands of that magazine. I still have some. And I still use them everywhere I go. Can I tell you a cute one? What happened?
Yeah.
I leave them for tips when I stay at a hotel when I'm out. So I was speaking somewhere and I took one of the magazines out that I brought to leave and I wrote, thank you for taking such good care of me in the magazine on my page and left it with the tip. when I went back there, this was like a year later, I went back to that same hotel. I actually didn't remember I'd been at that hotel because I had been doing a lot of things.
Uh-huh.
And near the, oh, I don't know if I could tell, it's so funny. Near the elevator section, they had a bunch of framed pictures of famous people that had stayed there. And my thing was there.
I love it. I love it.
They had taken it out, the sign page, framed it, and put it on the wall with actual famous people.
Well, you're famous.
Oh, it was just, I don't know, thrilling. It was cool.
Of course, how tickled, because one might think, well, the chambermaid would just take it home and look at it and eventually toss it or something. But how cool is that?
Well, many of them did, because I've done that many times where I never saw what happened. But I think I did it consistently enough that sometimes stuff happened from it.
Right.
So,
right.
yeah, and it's all a matter. It's back to the rule. If enough people know what I do, I can be successful. So that rule doesn't say you got to pick the ones that something's going to happen with. It says enough people. So it was enough for me to have one more person know what I do. Yeah. So the housekeeping lady knew what I did. That was enough for me.
Oh,
and
that's a great story. Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest obstacle that you faced with all of your business building?
Well, this is a funny thing. It's me. I'm the biggest obstacle, and it's always been me. It's going to continues to be me. Right. It's usually my limiting beliefs or my inability to wrap my head around something that we're doing. This came up recently with the book, as far as I've done a lot of stuff. Like I substituted for a radio host one time. Actually, I was on her show. Then she thought I did so well, she might have me back. So I was on a second time. Then she was on vacation, needed a sub host. I subbed for her as the host. Then the radio station had me do my own show for I think it was 6 or 8 months. So I actually, did some radio and stuff. So when Jeff West, my co-author, said, why don't you be the one to record the audiobook? I'm like, sure, I can do that because I've done radio and everything. Sure. I didn't realize that we were going to be doing it like when you read a book, you're not just reading it. You have to kind of like a play reading it. Once I figured that out, I was panicking. And he's done stuff like that, and I haven't. And I don't know why, but it was one of those things I had trouble getting my head around. And poor Jeff West. Yeah, he had to coach me through that one, and I was just an absolute wreck over it. So I think that sometimes you just have to, you have to push through and do stuff that you don't want to do. And now I think when we do another, because we're talking about a sequel to this book for next year, nice. I think I'll be able to do it a little better than I won't be quite so panicking.
Whenever I've listened to recordings, and maybe it's the author, maybe it's not the author. Usually when it's not the author, there's a difference in the connection when they're reading. If they're really not fully present to what they're reading, it goes flat,
Oh yeah.
So I like what you were saying, because it sounds like you have to really animate it while you're reading
it. And that's Jeff West. Yeah. He's done a lot of other projects. And matter of fact, I don't know how I was lucky enough to get to work with him, because without that connection, this wouldn't have turned out the way it did. And when we were doing the audiobook, I was such in a panic that he offered to be in a headset and on Zoom, so he could say stuff. So I'd be recording and he'd say, you missed a word, or go back and put some more meaning in that, or this is how you say it, and I would mimic him. So he really spent a lot of time doing that with me, and it just wouldn't have come out as good. I mean, a lot of people are writing good reviews about it, so I think it's good. And I think it's all because he was willing to coach me through it. And I mean, I don't want to say I had to be open to take the coaching, is why it worked out. If I'd continued to panic without trusting him, that would have been bad. But yeah, that it was hard to do. And that's one of the biggest things that's happened, I think, this year, that I got by that, even though that was like for some reason, that was just a very, very challenging. Yeah, I don't even know. Looking back, right. Looking back, I don't know why that was such a big deal, but it just was.
Right.
And it had to be something in my head that I was just, because it's always my own personal block that I have to get over. And that was one of those things. And just luckily, he's a patient man.
Right. Well, for somehow you must have pushed through your own upper limit ceiling in your mind.
Right. Well, and he was talking me through it too, which helped. Yeah.
Right.
So as a coach, I'm sure you must have to do that for some people about other things, right?
Right. Yeah. Sometimes we just have to lean on someone else's believing. We don't believe in ourselves.
Right. Yeah, and that was it. He was always complimentary, and he'd say, when we're doing interviews, he'd say, I don't give myself enough credit for how well I'm doing. And I was always like, oh, well, that sounds good. But, right. Because I knew
our own worst enemies, right?
Yes, I knew how bad I was panicking over that.
Wow.
I think some of it's his, even though I get a co-author credit, it's my stories and my rules and my life that he was inspired, but he's the writer.
Okay.
Jeff West was the writer. So then when I'm doing the audio, I kept thinking, I want to honor his words. I don't want to make him, I want to bring it in its best light that I can and do the best job that I can for him.
Right.
So yeah,
big responsibility for you. It felt like a responsibility.
It felt like it to me. Yeah. Yeah. It was just one of those moments that it was like, oh, I want to do so well at this and I'm just not. So, but it turned out great. He edited the heck out of it, but a lot of it was because he kept having me, he would be in my ear saying, do it this way. Here's what it should sound like, and let me repeat it. So he didn't just leave it if I didn't,
right.
He had us go back and fix it, which was awesome.
Which is great. Yeah. And so you learned in the process, I'm sure. So probably going forward, you kind of get a sense of how he would say something.
Right.
Something. Yeah.
I'm not sure I would do a book project alone again. Because I've done plenty of book projects before. And matter of fact, that 3-book set, I was the one that was leading the charge of the whole thing. But having someone he has different skill set than I do. And we didn't know it. We didn't talk about it ahead. This has been so much easier with someone that has a different skill set. Like he's all into the audio thing, and I knew nothing about that. He's a salesman, so he did know about marketing, but I probably have more, experience doing, I want to say guerrilla marketing or street marketing or whatever than he did. Right. So it just happened to be that our skill sets complement each other.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to try to done this project without him for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
wow.
It's been
wonderful. Though.
Right. And it's funny, 2 years ago, I didn't even know the man.
Yeah.
It's weird. And what's funny? So I've known Bob Burke probably 25 years or more than 20, maybe less than 25. So right around there. He's known Jeff West that long.
Oh, wow.
He's known me and Jeff West that long. We just never happened to run into each other.
Yeah.
So it just was like the universe collided and this book came out of it.
Well, it's also part of like, you always put yourself out there. So every step you took led you to that moment. Right.
No, that's true too.
Just, sitting twiddling thumbs and then he showed up, it's like.
Well, and what if I didn't, he was saying this, what if I didn't have blue hair? What if I had the joke? I mean, there's a bunch of time, looking back, it seems like it all fell into play.
Divinely guided to dye your hair blue.
I know it just was weird. And it's funny. Yeah. When I had that done, my hairdresser, of course, was like, we're going to have to bleach it to get it blue. Cause I'm brunette actually. And I wasn't even doing brunette before though. I was doing like, I don't know, chestnut or some crazy color. It was like red. Right. And, I said, oh yeah, I want to do that. And she was going crazy back then because then I didn't keep it. So then she had to strip it again to make me back the reddish I was.
Yeah.
So she's happy now because we just add blue, keep adding blue.
Yeah, my youngest son, when he was, going through whatever puberty, high school, whatever, he wanted blue hair, and we didn't do it, but he got green because we knew it was going to have, we were going to have to strip out all the color to get it to blue. So he did green. So, but
You know what I found that's been working? I think this is, I know it looks a little awkward today, but there's a shampoo now that you can buy. So I got this probably like 3 weeks ago that it adds a little blue every day that I shampoo.
oh, and it's
Instead
meant
of taking
for,
out, yeah,
oh,
instead of stripping out some every day, so I'm lighter every day. Because before, when I wasn't using the shampoo, by 4 weeks is where I am now, it would be almost like green. And
uh,
this is more like aqua, right? It's not
yeah.
that bad.
Oh, that's good.
But
That's very, very cool. Yeah.
yeah, who knew that was available, huh?
Right, right. Anything's possible these days, right? Wow. Well, so you have, first of all, where can people get your book?
Actually, Amazon is probably the easiest, but it's all over. Yeah,
Mhm.
Mr. West is a genius when it comes to that. It's on
Great.
probably every platform that you can buy books at. It's Barnes and Noble and Amazon. Amazon's the easiest though, because where a lot of us have accounts there already, and it's available in Kindle, the e-reader form, and the Audible that I was just talking about.
Right.
So
Okay.
all three forms. We haven't quite got the hardcover up, but that's on the way too.
Mhm.
And guess what? My son did the cover.
Yes, I know you told me that. Yes, and it's beautiful. I love it. I love it.
Oh, it's funny because he doesn't realize it's a big deal. Unless he was
Like
just like, give me
artwork for
some money. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
he's like, give me some money, I'll give you a cover. He's like, "Ah." And I'm like, but you know what? I was so proud of him because my son is a artist guy all over the place. He likes to do theater, he's singing, he does all that stuff. But
Mhm.
when he does artwork and sells it, usually it's like, here's your art, take it or leave it. You know what I mean? Take it or leave it. I'm not making adjustments. This is art, right?
Right. Yeah.
So when I was telling him that I needed the book cover and that Jeff and I had specific things we needed, I was afraid he wasn't going to take the
Right.
criticism or be able to do the edits for us. And he did. I mean, it was probably 15 different versions of that
Oh,
before we were all happy with this. And I was surprised he didn't object.
yeah.
He listened to Jeff when Jeff was telling him what he wanted and made the adjustments. I was happy he was able to do that because it's hard to make a living doing art stuff. You have to be able to take some feedback, I think.
Right.
So he might have to do graphic artist stuff and he's good at it.
Mm-hmm.
But to do that, you're going to have to be able to take the feedback and make the adjustments for the customer.
Right. Right.
So I was glad he was able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And you have a free gift for people, I understand.
Oh, yes, I do. Matter of fact, if you look, we had a Facebook launch group on Facebook, and you can still join it because once the book launched, we changed the name to the Blue Hair Brigade.
Oh, I
And
love
there's about 1,300 people on there. I put stuff in there every day. We put jokes about squirrels because we're teasing Jeff about that. But we
that.
put information about the book, of course, but about the rules. We do a lot of stuff in there. And we do a live every Thursday night, Jeff and I do. And we actually, what it's turned into being is more like a training session because I'll bring up something like a story or something that happened while I was out, and then he'll give me his spin. And we both have different backgrounds. He's been in the insurance world and I've been in direct sales. And almost always he has a spin I hadn't thought of. And I hope the audience learns something, but I'm sure learning a lot from him. So it's almost like getting a personal coach. But what we had for the book launch, and I have lots of these I give everywhere I go. This is our team bracelet. And I'm happy to send you a team bracelet and the bookmark.
Cool.
And this has both Jeff and I on the bookmark, and on the other side is the island. And it said the lady with the blue hair. And I'm happy to pop these in the mail to you. Just email me or text me with your mailing address. And if you include your birthday, just the month and the day, from now on, you'll get a birthday card from me in the mail.
Oh,
Birthday cards are my thing. I
nice.
love birthday cards.
Beautiful, beautiful. Wow. So for those who are listening, all the information is going to be in the show notes, but if you're listening and you just want the contact info, you can email Lisa at Wilber. That's LWILBER at AOL.com, or you can text at 603-345-9466. And also, if you include your month and day of your birthday, you will get a card from her. And her Facebook group, it's a Facebook group that's called the Blue Hair Brigade. So you can click to join that. And all of the information will also be in the show notes. So if you're driving or just can't write it down right now, you will find it in the show notes. Very cool. Is there anything else I wanted to make sure we covered?
Yeah, one other place they can find some information is saidthelady.com. Does have the Amazon link at the top. And then when you scroll down, we had 35 endorsers that wrote us really nice endorsements. They're all on there on a little carousel, along with graphics, JPEG graphics of each of the rules that you can download and print out. And below that are links to every show and interview that Jeff and I have ever done. So even some of our old stuff, you can see the Rich and Famous of Avon DVD thing that I was in. That's in the there's a whole bunch of links in the bottom. And as soon as you give me the link for this one, I'll put that there too. So if you're very interested in us, you can you can go back. Yeah, you'll want to check out Mr. West. He's not here with me today, but he's got a fascinating background. He's got all these cool things about him, and he's done a lot of interviews. He's got this thing called Fusion Points that's awesome that he teaches.
Fusion?
Yeah, it's I don't have the concise way to say it like he does, but it's tying logic with emotion, and that's how you get how customers get interested in dealing with you, and how people want to do business with you instead of not wanting to do business with you. But it's cool the way he explains it. But it has
that on your website, or is that someplace else?
Actually, I think you could do that. jeffcwest.com. You could find that, but you'll find a link to him talking about it on saidthelady.com, because there's links to all of his interviews, even when he's by himself, as well as all of mine. Wow. And the ones we've done together. We've done a bunch together as well.
Beautiful. So, this is so inspiring. I'm loving it. I'm going to go poke around all over that website. Go down those rabbit holes. That's awesome. Wow, this has been a lot of fun. If there was something that you wanted to share with folks, if you wanted to sum up like a one-liner to inspire people to to do whatever they can to live well long, well, you have a one-liner, you would say?
I don't know about one-liner, but say yes to more stuff. Say yes to more stuff, because I was in a not that great a place a couple years ago and decided I was just going to say yes to more stuff, be around more exciting people, have bigger, more audacious goals. I wasn't going to let what I've done so far be what I was going forward. I was just going to change and be whoever I wanted to be in this next chapter going forward. And it required me to say yes to stuff that's been uncomfortable, like the audio recording. And now that that's under my belt, I'm so glad that I did that. And I'm so glad I said yes to Jeff about the book. And there's been other stuff like that. I produced a play in my town. I didn't even have a big interest in theater. And I know that happened earlier this year too. And to have said yes to that when I was so uncomfortable and thought I didn't have the skills for it, and then for it to turn out so well that—
Did you have to wear a wig? Were you allowed to wear the blue hair?
I wasn't in the play. I produced it.
Oh, so you produced it. Got it. Oh, cool.
Yeah. So no, that's a whole story in itself. That's awesome.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, no, that and we're doing another one. We're doing another one this summer. That one worked out so well that there was a line of people. We had to turn people away in my little town to see that play. What? And I know there was a big line. And luckily, one of my ideas was that we have a drone take shots I thought we were going to do a group shot out on the lawn, and we weren't able to get everybody out there. So I thought the idea was lost. And what happened, the drone guy caught that line out
Wow.
the door. So now I have that forever, that long line of people waiting to get into that play, that I will treasure that picture forever. And I didn't even know we were going to get that one.
That was a blockbuster, I'd say, huh?
Oh, it was amazing. And we've got that on YouTube. Yeah. Yeah. But what are the odds? I mean, at the beginning of the year, I didn't say, you know what? I hope I produce a play. Right. And I hope I write
It's showing up.
write a business parable with a very successful insurance man. I just want to say yes to more stuff, because when I do, stuff like that happens.
Yes,
it's just awesome.
Great. I love it. What a wonderful testimony to living life to the fullest. I love it. Absolutely. Very cool.
Awesome.
Well, this has been awesome. And I know our listeners are loving this. So we will talk again soon. And this has been awesome. Thank you so much. And all the information you shared about is going to be in the show notes. Is there anything else you'd want to add to before we sign off?
No, and I hope people want to connect with me. I love meeting new people and seeing what they got going on. And if you're having a hard time with your next stage of life, let's connect, because I was too, and I think I somehow muscled through that, and now I'm just happy, and I say yes to lots of stuff.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for listening. This is Alexandra with Live Well Long. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of our important episodes. We want to be sure that you get everything you can to do your best to live well long. Feel free to reach out to me at alex@avhcoaching.com. And remember to take good care of yourself so that you live well long. Talk with you soon. Bye.
Hey, psst, it's Alexandra. One more thing. Would you please share this on Facebook, Twitter, send an email to your friends? Just hit the share link and pick a way to share it. I would love it. Thank you so much. Bye.